Welcome to Sin Series Recap. Llewellyn Jones and William Billy Orser, played by Stephen McHattie and Greg Brick, enter a room in a peaceful, rural motor court hotel in what seems to be the Midwest of the United States in the opening scene. One declares that he will go. The two men make strange traveling companions. Orser is in his 22nd, whereas Llewellyn is over 50. Orser questions Llewellyn as he exits the hotel office to find out what took so long. Llewellyn claimed to have an issue with the maid, but everything is now in order. When Llewellyn requests a drink, the jug is empty. Orser is instructed to fill it up at the water cooler in the hotel office. Orser enters the office. A bloody handprint can be seen on the counter. The hotel employee is deceased and slumped over in a chair. On the floor, the housekeeper is laying in a pool of blood. A young girl, trembling in fear, unlocks the door between the office and the manager's apartment while Orser fills the jug. She is calmed down before being shot by Orser. In the following scene, we meet Tom Stahl, the proprietor of a restaurant in a small town, who is married to Eddie, a lawyer. Jack, 16, and Sarah, 10, are their two children. Tom and Eddie adore their kids and are very passionately in love with them. Everyone in the restaurant knows one another and uses their first names to address one another. It seems to be a tiny town in middle America. When Jack, a high school baseball player, catches a fly ball, the game is over and Bobby Singer, a bully, is out. Bobby makes an effort to intimidate Jack into a fight in the locker room. Jack uses comedy to talk his way out of Bobby's challenge. Bobby and a friend are driving about later that night, clearly bored and searching for mischief. They come upon Jack and Judy Danvers, who are smoking joints while sitting on a corner. They resolve to kick Jack's ass, but almost hit a pickup truck in the process. Bobby gives the truck's occupants the finger, but when he notices their expressions, he swiftly retracts. The two high school students are staring at Llewellyn and Orser with an expression that says, "You're about to make a major mistake. I'm sick of these stupid podunk communities and the damn podunks in them," Orser yells. Around closing time, Llewellyn and Orser walk inside Tom Stahl's diner. Llewellyn makes a cool coffee and pie order. Tom informs them that they are shut. Llewellyn barks orders for coffee. The ever-diplomatic Tom concurs. Charlotte, the waitress, is instructed to leave. Orser grabs her as she exits, pulls her into a chair, and touches her breast. She is not to move, he commands. Tom believes that they intend to rob him. He offers them every last penny in the cash register. Llewellyn draws his revolver and declares that he is the rightful owner of the money before ordering Orser to murder Charlotte in order to make a point to Tom. As Orser strikes the waitress, Llewellyn is briefly sidetracked. Llewellyn is knocked to the ground and the revolver slips from his grasp when Tom slams the pot of boiling coffee across his face. Tom quickly retrieves Llewellyn's pistol by leaping over the counter. Orser attempts to hit Tom but misses. Orser falls through the glass in the door when Tom fires back, striking Orser 3 times in the chest. Tom receives a foot stab from Llewellyn as he creeps back. Llewellyn is instantaneously killed when Tom shoots him in the head. Tom is portrayed as a hero in the local media. He ignores their request to interview him and instead goes to the hospital. The newspaper's main page and the local news both highlight his tale. Tom has a slight injury, but for a few days he limps. A few days later, Tom is working at the cafe when 3 well-dressed guys walk into the busy establishment. It is clear that they are not local. The supervisor, who is dressed in a suit and dark sunglasses, motions for a cup of coffee as they take a seat at the counter. Despite the fact that Tom claims he has him mistaken with another person, he repeatedly calls him Joey. Tom is from Philadelphia, the man insisted. It's obvious that the man thinks he knows Tom. Eddie, Tom's wife, is irritated by their remarks. They must order, she demands, or go. Tom is given a $100 note by the leader, who then declares, "Now we're paying customers." The men depart when Eddie makes a threat to contact the police. When a patrol car stops them, the men are operating their vehicle on a country road. The 3 guys, particularly the leader, don't seem the least bit alarmed by the implicit threats made by the sheriff, Sam Carney, a seasoned officer who appears to mean business. The leader responds, "We're tourists," and adds, "Keep up the excellent job, officer." Sam stops by Tom and Eddie later that day to talk to them about the event. Sam cautions them that these 3 individuals are mafia figures and members of East Coast organized crime. There is a Richard Ritchie Cusack in Philadelphia who is the head of an Irish-American crime family that is centered there and to which the 3 guys are linked. But he was unable to obtain any information or locate any criminal records for Joey Cusack, the name they called Tom. These men, though, have just recently started to follow Tom and his family. A few days later, when Tom notices their automobile approaching his home, he hobbles back there, huffs and puffs, jumps inside, takes his shotgun, but no one is there. The following day, Eddie is shopping at a nearby mall when her daughter escapes.
Sarah?
The head of the guys, Carl Fogarty, approaches Eddie as she pursues her and casually suggests that her husband is not who he claims to be. As Eddie stands up for Tom, Fogarty merely advises that she question him about Richie Cusack, whom he claims to be Tom's brother, and why he is so skilled at killing people. On the same day, Bobby confronts Tom's son Jack once more, and this time, Jack is unable to flee. Jack then starts to severely beat Bobby and his friend, sending Bobby to the hospital out of wrath at the ongoing taunting. Now that we have seen it, Tom and his kid are capable of doing real harm if pushed hard enough. Once Jack gets home, Tom and Jack dispute about the event, and Jack makes a snarky remark about Tom shooting the two murderers. Jack receives a smack from Tom and flees the home. Tom observes Fogarty's vehicle approaching his home a little while later. They advise him to lay down his shotgun and follow them instead. One of the men exits the vehicle while holding Jack when Tom replies no. Tom is forced to get in the car and return to Philadelphia to visit some people by Fogarty, who makes it plain that he knows who Tom truly is. Jack is released by the soldiers and rushes into the home as Tom is made to lay down his weapon. "It would be best if you simply go," Tom says in response to the guys telling him to get in the car. Tom is the target of a gunshot from one of the men. Tom grabs the other man and breaks his arm as Eddie watches from the second-floor window. Tom then repeatedly strikes the other man's nose upward with his hand before shooting him twice in the chest. Tom has a shoulder injury from a gunshot from Fogarty. Before killing Tom, Fogarty stands over the injured man and furiously asks him if he has any final words. Tom snarls, "I should have murdered you back in Philly." Jack quietly snatches Tom's shotgun and shoots him. Tom glares at his kid, giving off the impression that he may have had a different life back in Philadelphia. He pulls the shotgun away from Jack, but as Jack starts to cry, he unexpectedly gives him an embrace of thanks and consolation. Tom is confronted by Eddie that night in his hospital bed. She begs him to confess the truth while announcing that she saw him kill both of Fogarty's men with his own hands like a skilled fighter. Tom acknowledges that he was once Joey Cusack, a young mafia hitman, but that he quit the mob life many years ago after getting into trouble with Fogarty, who we later discover is a made man beyond any damage from any criminal family. Tom then went on to become Tom Stahl. Tom asserts that he once committed murder for both fun and gain. Even though Eddie is understandably horrified and incensed by the revelation, she later stands up for Tom when Sam visits their home the following day to inquire further about Fogarty, claiming that these urban mob figures are incredibly secretive and wouldn't have ventured so far from Philadelphia and into the open unless they were absolutely certain they were looking for the right man. When Tom is about to admit that he is Joey Cusack, Eddie enters the room and continues to stand up for him. Sam agrees and departs, but he waggles a finger to indicate that he is aware that they are either lying or concealing something. Eddie turns away from Tom in disgust as Sam departs, slaps him, and yells, "Fuck you, Joey." In contrast to their earlier, more fun and passionate lovemaking, Joey forces her down onto the stairwell where they begin a very aggressive sex scene. Tom is awakened out of bed later that night by a call from Richie himself. When Richie asks, "Are you going to come visit me, or do I have to come see you?" he is implying a threat. Tom travels to Philadelphia by car from his home at daybreak and meets a young man with a gruff exterior in a tavern. Tom is driven to a substantial home where he meets a smartly dressed, self-assured guy who seems genuinely delighted to see his younger brother. Richie began informing Tom about the significant, expensive difficulties and loss of prestige within the gang caused by Joey's actions prior to his disappearance after engaging Tom in small chat about his new life. "Tell me what I need to do to put things right," Tom begs Richie, who no longer wants anything to do with the mafia life. Richie calmly responds, "You may die, Joey," and then turns around to avoid seeing the driver attempt to strangle Tom by putting a garrote around his throat. Tom anticipates Joey's move and inserts his hand into the garrote. He uses his foot to throw himself over Richie's desk backwards, then uses his bare hands to murder the driver and two other bodyguards. Tom attempts to shoot Joey, but Richie fails. Richie follows Joey outside with his revolver pulled, believing that he has fled out the front door. Richie is locked out when Joey murders the remaining bodyguard inside the home. When Joey unlocks the door, Richie pulls out his keys to start the door. Richie suffers a headshot from him. As Tom approaches his house, his family is already starting to eat dinner. He sits at the table, looking worn out after being away for 2 days. As Eddie pretends to be praying, his daughter Sarah prepares a seat for him. Jack doesn't speak when he and his parents are seated at the table. Eddie finally turns to face Tom again as she begins to cry. Tom gives her a sorrowful gaze in return. Although the way Tom and Eddie look at one another suggests that their relationship has altered, there is still optimism that they will stay together.